watchers, welcome to Perth Watch, your horology channel broadcasting from right here in Perth, Western Australia. Today I have the latest piece from Melbourne Watch Company, a company who's provided a few pieces for the channel, and I'm glad to say that it's not all dive watches. I've in fact reviewed quite a few more dress style pieces from them, and today it is also another one in similar vein. So you may have seen previous packaging which were, I think, simpler. Today's one actually comes in this kind of wood finish or wood veneer, which is kind of nice actually. This is probably the nicest box I've gotten from Melbourne. So guys, without further ado, let's flip the camera around and take a closer look at the watch in here. Alright guys, so here we have the box on the table here, polished kind of wood finish. I'm not sure whether this is real wood. I suspect it's actually covered MDF, but it's actually pretty nicely done, almost a piano type of finish. Melbourne Watch Company at the top here, of course, as you've previously seen. This time it has proper hinges, right? Steel hinges, or some sort of metal. Not spinnable because it's got a felt covering, so spinnability is 0, unfortunately. Okay, so that's the watch on the cushion there. Up the top here you have the typical warranty card, and then instructions, which I will just briefly show you, because this is at least different, and it's actually customized to the specific watch. So a little bit about Melbourne Watch, and then about this particular moon phase automatic, and it just operating instructions on how exactly to use it and the precautions, and then the rest of it is just a bit of warranty information, nothing much more to talk about. Okay, so let's just open this up and put the case aside to show you this watch in closer detail. So guys, right here in hand is the Melbourne Watch Company Collins Moon Phase Automatic. Collins is the series, and that's the name of one of the classic streets or favorite streets in Melbourne CBD, if you've ever known that. Collins and Little Collins are pretty characterful streets in Melbourne. So MSRP of this watch, 985 Australian dollars. That takes it to somewhere under 700 USD at current exchange rate. Often this is on sale. Melbourne Watch Company periodically do go on sale, so I anticipate that the sale price would be around 750 or less, which I think at times will be under 500 USD for this watch. So I think that's probably fair to consider this watch at that type of price range, because you probably only pick this up on sale, I imagine. Okay, so first up guys, let's talk about the movement, as I usually like to do. So the movement in here is a Sellita. It's actually the SW280-1, which is of course a moon phase movement. You can see there stats down the left of screen. I'm not going to read it all out. It does have a quick set date, in this case black writing on white disc at the 3 o'clock position, and of course it's got the moon disc at the 6 o'clock position implemented right here, as you can see it. Hacking, manual winding, as with a lot of this Sellita/ETA movements. Rated accuracy, as you can see, typically at that range. In actual use, this is running slightly slow at about 4 seconds slow per day. In the roughly 2 weeks actually I've been running this. Okay, enough about the movement. Let's talk about the case here, which is a pleasing 39mm diameter. All right, this is what we're looking at here, 316L steel, of course. The bezel is slightly slimmer or narrower than the case itself at 38mm, that steel bezel. Thickness is not too bad, right? It's fairly thin at 12mm thickness. 20mm lug width, and a lug to lug distance which is actually not big, actually pleasingly fairly short at just under 47mm, 46.8mm to be exact. With calipers, the overall weight is also not too heavy on this steel bracelet, 140 grams adjusted, with a few links that I've taken off to fit my wrists. Okay, let's talk about finishing. Finishing here, if you've paid attention as I panned it around, the case itself is actually 100% polished. There's no brushing differential finishing on this case, which is a slight negative on this case here. It does have a screw secured case back, so 4 screws around the case back. It's not screw down, but 4 screws, display case back that you can see the movement there with that decorated rotor. This crown winds in the 0 position. It's not a screw down crown, it's a push in crown signed with the M for Melbourne Watch Company. So the rating is not going to be very waterproof. The water resistant rating is 15 meters, meaning I'm not going to take this watch into a swimming pool by any means. In fact, I hesitate to shower with watches like this, but let me know your own experiences and your own thoughts about that. Always interested to hear other people's experiences and how much they dare to wet their watches. Okay, let's move on to the dial now. So the dial here is a pretty cool matte white dial, printed details, right? Melbourne and Collins and all that chapter ring around the periphery. It's got applied rod-shaped indices around the periphery with a double indice at the 12 o'clock position. And then, of course, it's got that moon disc. And that moon disc is pretty cool because this is an Australian company. And if you look closely, the constellation that you can see display is the Southern Cross. The constellation that is actually on the flag of Australia and New Zealand. The hands are polished Dauphine style hands. It's got a simple stick for the seconds with an M-shaped counterbalance for Melbourne. There is no lume on this watch, which I think is alright. It's a dress style watch. It would be cool if they can put some stick, kind of a line of lume in the main hands and perhaps dots around the periphery. They haven't, so and I think that's okay for a watch like this. The bezel is of course fixed. And on top of the dial is a dome sapphire crystal that you can see there. Okay, that's the description of the case. Let's move on to the bracelet now. So the bracelet here is 5-piece per link, differential finishing, of course, in this case, right? Polish at the side, brush, and then intervening polish, brush, right? Alternating finishing there on this bracelet. It does have female end links, which means that it bends down nicely, and I always like that instead of like jutting out, making the watch larger than it should be or could be on the wrist. Push pin adjustment, unfortunately, right? This is not a screw link adjustment, just push pins on this watch, which is a bit lacking in the price range that they're asking. It's got solid arms there, but kind of a pressed metal push button deploy and clasp with 2-point micro adjustment on the clasp there. Okay, so that's the entire description of the watch. Let's just snap it on the wrist now for a wrist shot, which is, that's how it is. Okay, so remember 39mm diameter, 46.8 in terms of lug-to-lug distance, just 12mm stick, and that's how it looks like on this particular bracelet. Right, so guys, what have I enjoyed particularly about this watch? I think the good things are it's very well sized. I like it that they've gone for 39, which is very modest, and with that lug distance, it fits just about it fits everybody I know, all guys that I know, which is cool. It's got a nice quietness of the dial implementation, so it's just a plain matte white, which is cool. For a dress watch, this is absolutely fine. I quite like how they've done it. Very nice cuts for the windows, for the date and the moon phase there. And it's got a pretty cool Aussie homage on the moon disc with that Southern Cross. I like how that they've put that in there just as a little play, because you'll never see this in a European watch, I would think, or any watch from the Northern Hemisphere for that matter. And whilst I think some of this is probably just Chinese, I think the case is actually pleasingly slightly different, right? It's got a what I want to call a bowl shape. So it's not just a generic slab-sided case. So nice of them to put something different on that, even though it's probably still a Chinese case. All right, what are the weaknesses? For the price point, I think the generic kind of Chinese factory OEM bracelet isn't going to cut it, especially with that clasp, with the push pins. I think really I expect something better than that, but that's what they've put in. I expect that a lot of you guys will feel the same way about this. Even on discount, you probably expect something better than that. But if you're looking at this at under 500 USD, it's got that Swiss movement, moon phase. You don't see that all the time. In fact, I can't remember the last moon phase I did, ages and ages ago. I don't see a lot of moon phase. That's not too bad, that could be considered compelling by some, particularly if you like the styling that they've gone for. I think they could have lifted the whole package if they gave more differential finishing on the case, right? It's really just all polish, and I think they could have done a bit better there. Water resistant would have lifted if they give us a screw crown, for example, and a screw-in case back. That would have, they could easily push that to 100 meters, and then it could be a true everyday type of watch as opposed to more of a dress watch. And then I think lastly, if they put some texture. Now I said I like this, and I do like the matte white, but if they put some texture on the dial, Clou de Paris or something, that would also probably be helpful in lifting the whole package. Okay, so guys, that's my review and thoughts on this watch. Let's just flip the camera around now for the wrap up. So there you go, guys, my review of the Melbourne Watch Company Collins Automatic Moon Phase. Let me know what you think about this piece. I think there are some interesting things about it, particularly the implementation of the moon phase and also that Swiss movement. That's, I believe, the first time I've ever seen this movement and the first time I presented it on the channel. So guys, certainly let me know your thoughts on this piece. Honestly, I do think at the full MSRP, it probably puts it out of consideration for most people. So I think the more reasonable conversation will be around this discounted price, which to be honest, they do often go on to discount, and you will be able to obtain it at that lower price. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. New content weekly, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys again next time.